Thank you guys for having me today. I'm excited to be here. If you don't know me, I am an attorney and I am the owner of a law firm called Elder Law Solutions. My mother recently told me that, there's lots of people out there that could probably use my services, but they're not elders. So while we began our practice with a focus on people who would reach the point in their life where they needed a little extra help in caring for a loved one, we now have really expanded what we do to work with people all along the way. So we've worked with families when a new baby has been born to do a first will to say who you want the guardian of that child to be. We work with families whose first child's going off to college and making sure that once that child's 18, they have the proper documents and are ready to go as they reach the age of majority. We work with people that want to plan for for what happens when they die. Through this COVID practice, we've gotten more business from people that realized that they hadn't really planned for all the contingencies we always think we need to plan for. So right now, we really have expanded our practice to do not just the elder law. So that is still the heart of our business. The heart of what we do is working with families when they have a loved one that can't take care of themselves anymore. I am so fortunate to have a wonderful staff, and I'm so glad they're here today. Vanessa, as she introduced herself, is our elder care coordinator. What I realized was that people had a lot of questions and concerns when caring for their family members, and a lot of those concerns I couldn't answer because they weren't legal questions. So Vanessa helps our families really navigate the care that they need during this time, and I'm so happy to see so many of our community partners, Sanders Ridge and Elmcroft and Green Meadows. We work frequently with these people every day, and I'm glad you guys are here, and I'm glad you're our partners in this community. I also have my paralegal, Kathleen, who a lot of you will talk to when you call into the business. She does a lot of our intakes and a lot of our legal drafting and helps us with our applications. We also have Linda behind her, who is our our right hand and everything, is at our front desk and answers our phones. And then I'm really pleased to introduce our new attorney, Larissa Gilbert, who started with us this summer and has really navigated a lot of these issues with her own family and really hopes to develop her work, especially in the area of veterans benefits, having been through some of those things with her own parents. So we're glad she's here today. So what I thought we would talk about today is not really so much on the elder law spectrum. I wanted to talk to you guys as business leaders and business owners to make sure you guys have the legal tools that you may need to survive during this time of pandemic. And so I'm going to mention a couple of documents that are important. Want to make sure you have those. And then at the end, we'll take a minute to talk about what's going on in the senior care communities, because that didn't get to go away. And then I'll open it up to any questions you guys have. So I think, it's easy. A couple of years ago, I went to a seminar and they said, you need to put an emergency plan together in case you have to be out of the office for 6 weeks, or in case you can't be there to run that business. And, as a solo business owner, that was like the very bottom of my plate, and I never really did that. And then when all of this started, you realized how true some of those things could be. And we started to get calls from, like I said, people of all ages and demographics who said, I didn't think I needed these documents, but now I do. So the first document I want to talk to you about is a document called a medical power of attorney. You can do this today. There is a document on the Kentucky Attorney General's website, which you can print off. You can fill it out, you can sign it, and you can have 2 witnesses in your office sign it, and you'll have a medical power of attorney today. That's a form document that is available to everybody in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. What that document says is, in the event I am unable to make a medical decision, I designate another person to make that medical decision for me. That same form has some boxes you can check about certain wishes regarding end of life, but if you'll read the instructions, it gives you the choice. Either check the boxes, yes, ventilator, yes, artificial nutrition, or you can pick a decision maker. In my opinion, it's much, much better to pick a decision maker because we never know what that medical situation is going to be, and we never know what sort of decisions are going to have to be made. So the best thing to do is to pick somebody you really trust that, number one, knows your wishes, and number two, can honor your wishes. Those are really the two places that these documents break down. So you can pick your sister or you can pick your daughter, but if you haven't told that person what your wishes would be in a situation, then they're going to have a really hard time making the decisions. We see this all the time in our line of work. People come in and they have to make a hard decision and they say, well, my mom always told me this is what she wanted. And there's a lot of peace when those people have to make that decision. We've had other clients whose parents won't give them an answer, and it becomes very hard for those people to make decisions because they don't know what a person wants. So step one is to pick that decision maker, and step two is to have that conversation. And I think if you've got one of these documents and you haven't talked to your medical decision maker about what kind of things you would like if you did get COVID or were on a ventilator, I would really encourage you to have that extra conversation and do that. So that's the first document, and it's there's a few shortfalls to the document that's on the Attorney General's website. One of those is it doesn't have any HIPAA language. So it doesn't really authorize the medical professionals to talk to you, to your decision maker. So we do offer those as well. You might also want to, consider adding your medical decision maker to your HIPAA documents when you go to the doctor or when you go to your hospital. That would also be probably a helpful thing to do. So that's that first document, but it's not just the document, it's really the conversation. The second document that I think is important is a durable power of attorney. That is a legal document that allows someone else to do things on your behalf. And people will say to me sometimes, well, I've got a power of attorney. Does that let me do this? That's a contract, and that's a contract between you and another person. And so the person you pick as your power of attorney can only do the things you give them the power to do. We do have a Uniform Power of Attorney Act in Kentucky, and so some things are automatically covered now that used to not be covered. But it's real important that you specify that your power of attorney that you've chosen has the right to do all the things they're going to need to do, not only to manage your personal life, so they don't, need to be able to do just, personal banking, personal insurance, personal real estate management. But if you are a business owner, and I know we do have some business owners here, if you're a business owner, you might also want to consider a separate document that appoints someone to take care of the management of your business in the event that you are incapacitated. These documents kind of come in two flavors. One is that your power of attorney is immediately authorized to act. We generally do those for a couple of reasons. Number one, you don't have to go to the doctor and get that note that you're no longer incapacitated. And number two, if you can't trust the person you've picked to be your power of attorney when you know what's going on, how can you trust them when you don't? So those documents I think are really important. Think about how digital our lives are, and what if someone needed to, what if you are in the hospital for 6 months and you need somebody, or 6 weeks, not 6 months, but you need somebody to call the phone company, to call the cable company, to pay your bills, to access your internet accounts. Without that power of attorney, it's going to be very, very tricky to do, especially now since, the other alternative would be some sort of guardianship, and our courts are, operating on a more limited schedule than they had been in the past. So that document, again, really important. It's important for everybody. It's important not just today for, this pandemic, but if somebody's driving down the road and has an auto accident, I don't think you should think of this document as something that's only for seniors. This is a document that everybody needs. We actually did a little back to school special and did this document for 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds that were heading off to college because their parents, who until they turned 18 could help manage their personal lives, can't do that anymore once that child is an adult. So we have actually done those even for college kids, for things as simple as, running the bank or canceling a credit card or making an appointment. So that document's, again, a really, really good thing to have. The final document is the documents are those estate planning documents. So things like wills, living trust. There's not a one size fits all prescription for what documents people need for their eventual disposition of their stuff. We've got a few bankers on here, and some of your accounts are going to be payable upon death, and so those beneficiary designations are every bit as important as the will and the trust. And I think it's important for you to understand how all that fits together. So you could make a will doing one thing, but if you've designated someone else as the beneficiary of an account, or you've put somebody else on that account as co-owner of that account's not going to go. It's going to pass through the beneficiary designation. So we've been doing a lot with our clients of revisiting those plans to understand where everything goes. In addition to having those documents, it's important that somebody know where those documents are, because you can have them, but if somebody can't find them, they're not really very helpful. We are back to doing probate cases. We did have a short break in that, but our court here in Bullitt County is getting those processed very quickly. We've been really pleased with the plan for that. So when people do pass away, we are able to probate those wills fairly quickly now. So those really are the documents that I think are important during this time. If you don't have them, it's a good time to do them. There was a change in the law so that we can now do some virtual signings. The person signing the documents still signs those documents on paper, but we are able for those witnesses and those notaries to be watching via a Zoom call, via GoToMeeting call. So if you're not comfortable back out in the public yet, we've got a couple of socially distant ways to get those documents signed. We've done some drive-through signings in our parking lot, which also works. But there's definitely some ways to get this done right now. Really, makes it a lot more convenient for our families that are still, trying to work and raise children and all those things. So, if there's any way that we can be helpful on those documents, give us a call, talk to Kathleen about getting an appointment set up, but we would be happy to help you with any of those documents you need. I said at the beginning, the need for care has not diminished with this pandemic. And I'm very happy that Sanders Ridge up in Mount Washington is now open. And that's been a great benefit to our community, and they are accepting residents, and that's been a long awaited thing. Green Meadows is also, still taking care of our patients, and Elmcroft is still, accepting residents and taking care of their patients as well. So I'm really glad we have all those options for people in our community, and that they've continued to do really good work during this time. And really, they are some of the heroes in our community. So I thank them for all they've done. And I'll open it up if anybody has any questions.